4 months waiting for a new PoE 1 league is far too long, so now we're playing PoE 1 and PoE 2. We're flying through maps, clearing the entire screen, holding down just one button, tapping pinnacle bosses, and having one hell of a good time. And in this one, I'll cover everything you need to go from your basic bitch lightning arrow ranger to this beast of a build. And on top of that, we're covering how you can do it spending minimal amounts of currency as well. But first things first for the newbies. What the hell is going on here? There's just explosions and shit going off all over the place, with the main benefit being you don't actually have to clean these up when you're done. And it's all due to this lovely support gem, Nova Projectiles. It allows us to bust out projectiles in a circle around us. Combine that with Lightning Arrow that also chains, you now have a screen-wide clear. But we can do better than that, of course, because while mapping, I'm combining this with the Cardero's Gambit Quiver. All right, and what does this cryptic fucking thing do? Well, a lot. As you can see, I'll show everything soon, but basically, it has a chance to either chain a bunch of times, to split, to return back to me, do a lot of crit damage, stun, or, my personal favorite, grant you 600% item rarity for your arrows. Pair that with Herald of Thunder that also deals AoE damage and you're off-screening enemies all over the map just from spamming your lightning arrow. Oh, and the best thing? You don't have to aim them, making it the perfect Netflix and Blast build. All right, now to get you online as soon as possible, let's start by checking out all of the support gems and what you can do to get the build perfect regardless of your gear level. Because while I'm still missing upgrades and can still double or triple my damage, chances are yours is even shittier. Don't worry though, we'll sort that out just fine. And starting us off, we have our Lightning Arrow. This is our main clearing ability, and you're pairing it with Lightning Rod for bosses and Rough Elites when needed. To maximize our single target damage, we're also setting up a weapon set swap to maximize our Lightning Rod damage. But first things first, for my Lightning Arrow, I'm rocking Nova Projectiles along with Elemental Armament and Stoicism for big damage. And then we have this, Defy 2. Another cryptic fucker. Basically, as long as we are surrounded, which we're ensuring via our gear, our hits are lucky. This means that instead of rolling a random number in between your damage span, it now does this random draw twice and picks the biggest number. This is a substantial damage increase, and as an added bonus, it also allows you to spam your abilities where it's socketed even when you're out of mana. So we'll socket it in our Lightning Arrow, Rod, and Tornado. Unfortunately, we can't socket it in our Barrage as well, otherwise I'd do that too. And for our final gem, Rakiata's Flow. This one's expensive as shit, but it's not too difficult to obtain yourself. Simply go on a road trip in your Atlas, look for the Jade Storm, and then there's a trick you can use, because you can run the Jade Storm 4 times in a row, basically ensuring that the thing drops. I'll put a quick TLDR guide on how you can do this in the description. Until you found it though, I'd use Longshot for mapping and charge shots for farming pinnacle bosses. Alright, and then we have Lightning Rod. Here we socket in Concentrated Area, Elemental Armament, Elemental Focus, and Defy 2 and Close Combat 2 for big damage and mana. And for doing pinnacle bosses, I always move my Rakiata's Flow over to Lightning Rod and Elemental Focus over to Lightning Arrow, as it's Lightning Rod doing the bulk of your damage there. Next, we have our trusty Roar Away. We all need some friends around, and this one's mine, and that's because he reduced the movement speed penalty from shooting arrows and grants us some lovely damage from the passive tree. The only important gem here is Brutus Brain, as to have him not fucking die in case you want to jump off and let him do his thing. And of course, Loyalty for reduced damage taken, assuming it actually works when combined with Brutus's Brain. No idea personally. We then have Herald of Thunder for boosting our clear when combined with Magnified Effect, Elemental Armament, Elemental Focus, and Longshot. But it does one additional thing that's insanely important. It blinds everything around us. This both reduces our enemy's evasion, allowing us to actually hit them, but most importantly, it reduces their accuracy. And here's the thing, this is completely uncoupled from evasion itself. What the hell do I mean by that? Well, shit. The chance for an enemy to hit you depends on both your evasion and their accuracy. So for me personally, I have 72% evasion when buffed. I then boost that further by staying far away from enemies and decreasing their accuracy, basically keeping my life full at all times, since nothing's actually hitting me. And this whole calculation also boosts your deflection, basically allowing blind to double dip, something I've always wanted to do. Next up is elemental weakness. This one is for all the broke boys out there that can't afford Racchiata, because having this, you're reducing all resistances down to 0. So for pinnacle bossing, you'd simply drop this via cursed ground, and you'll deal crazy amounts of damage. Next is barrage, used only for wombo comboing pinnacle bosses. The same goes for tornado, and in case you're unaware of the wombo combo, it's simply dropping a bunch of lightning rods before the fight starts, followed by tornado, barrage, and ripping the guy a new one. We have magnified area to make it bigger and easier to hit along with blind. To make sure we blind bosses, overabundance to get an extra one, and finally defy as to make it spammable even without mana. For our final skill, we have Wind Dancer for the extra evasion. We generally don't get hit, but if we do, we'll blind and maim nearby enemies. I'm also using Cannibalism for extra healing, but you can skip this one if you're low on spirit. You will, however, need Health Leech on one of your gear pieces. I'd also like to mention this final skill, Companion, because I've heard that some of you hate my rower friend and would much rather see him in a frying pan, in which case, you're messed up, but fair enough. In that case, you could collect the Frozen Mandible Companion with Haste Aura and go for these passive nodes in the tree, removing movement speed penalties when casting, and it should grant you similar movement speed. And with that, we're done with this shit. Let's check out the gear now, shall we? The only requirement here is that you farm yourself a Constricting Command Viper Cap, as this is required as to make you count as surrounded, and don't bother with anything other than a roll of 5 fewer enemies, as you want to make sure you can use it regardless if there are enemies near or not. And in case you don't have it yet, no worries, in the description you'll find a planner with the starting variant that you can follow. The other things I'd focus on first are 1. Getting Onslaught on your weapon. This is 20% attack speed and 10% movement speed. And this build is all about clearing shit fast, making this fantastic. 2. Getting this bad boy, the Kadiro's Gambit. It's just fantastic for clearing with this build, and then you just swap to a high damage quiver when bossing. You don't need 2 weapons, just press this button up here, and you'll use the same bow for both weapon sets. I just recently learned this, Lamau. And for what the quiver actually does, crescendo chains your arrows, more than they already do, and increases their damage. Splinter splits them into several targets. Reversing, which is my second favorite, allows them to return to you. Diamond, the biggest damage increase, granting free crits. Covetous, which allows you to get some nice drops every now and then. And finally, Blunt, which is dog shit. 3, movement speed, loads of it. You can craft these deterministically if you want, but it's only worth it if you're going to socket the expensive ass runes in them. Otherwise, I'd just go with a regular pair of 35% movement speed boots and call it a day. And 4, a shit ton of defense. You don't want to die, ever. And in this version, we're relying hard on evasion and deflection, followed by capped resistances and max life. The bulk of it comes from your chest, as the passive tree doubles the evasion here, and I'm grabbing it on pretty much every gear piece. The rest is all about damage, damage, more damage, and finally, item rarity when you're done with the rest. The Kadiro's Gambit allows you to skip some rarity on your gear, which is nice. Finally, there are some banger charms out there, but they all cost a gazillion divines. So just get freeze and stun immunity, and you're Gucci. Hey, will you look at that? It's skill tree a fucking clock, and you know it, baby. Let's check it out. Here you're going to have a green one for Weapon Set 2, that is, your boss nuking set, and Weapon Set 1 for mapping and speed. Starting us off with the Ascendancy, there's just not much to grab. It's always Tailwind for speed and defense, along with Point Blank for 20% damage and Endless Munitions for the extra arrow. We then head off to grab a bunch of damage. If I had better gear, then I'd take this route though, grabbing the movement speed instead. But you basically need FUB gun levels of gear to kill anything, taking the movement speed routes here. Keep moving down, grabbing quiver bonuses and some damage for Weapon Set 2, along with defense and movement speed for number 1. And in case you don't have the Rakiata gem just yet, then I'd also go for these lightning penetration nodes. Generally, you don't need a lot of penetration when mapping, and you have elemental weakness on bosses, but if you're juicing up your maps, then chances are you're also increasing enemy resistances, so then it'd be highly valuable. Here I also have my From Nothing Diamond. It's a cheap jewel allowing you to socket shit around Chaos Inoculation. Let's fuck off to Uganda or whatever to see where this one is. It's all the way over here. We use it to gain 11% extra damage as Chaos, along with additional damage as Cold and Lightning, along with this strong node for extra damage. After that, we grab the bow cluster down here, mainly for the piercing and to allow the use of projectile speed, instead turning it into damage. Next, we have companion damage, which we give to ourselves instead via Inspiring Ally. This may not look much to the world, but it's a few strong nodes, along with the fact that companion damage can roll exceptionally high on jewels and gear too. Further up, we have a bunch of damage nodes and our first rare jewel. Here you just go for attack speed, movement speed, and as many damage modifiers as you can. For doing pinnacle farming, I typically have a Against the Darkness jewel here for a shit ton of damage, but generally I have it down here when mapping, as I don't use any of these nodes when running maps, otherwise wasting the jewel there. Over here, we find Bestial Skin, which doubles your chest evasion, along with some more evasion, dex, attack speed, and quiver bonuses. Further up, we also have my Anoint, Kite Runner, which is essentially 3% movement speed and 30% damage. Yummers. Finally, we're going to go all the way back to grab ourselves a bunch of movement speed, more movement speed, some jewels, and go to Gem Enthusiast. This is a lovely gem, granting you 5% life and movement speed. But here's the kicker, you need 10 red and 10 green support gems, which means 10 dexterity support gems and 10 strength ones. After that, we get to the good stuff. A bunch of surrounded nodes. Here we find some big ass attack damage ones, and up by Frantic Fighter, some even more disgusting ones, along with some movement speed and a jewel slot. But that's not all, because there's another cluster here with both good damage and a whopping 20% attack speed. Yummers, and of course, some movement speed in our jewel. Good job, friends. Passive tree done. But one thing left to do to get good. Or rather, get good. Because it's time for me to teach you brain-dead bunch of donkeys how to play the easiest build imaginable. Mapping, press lightning arrow, it's just that simple. I like to hold it down and watch your wife getting pounded on my second monitor. And in case you run into an annoying elite, just drop down some lightning rods and tornadoes, shoot them, and they should die. When it comes to bossing, it's fairly simple as well. Before every boss, you want to drop a total of 20 lightning rods on the ground. How many times you need to spam to get there depends on how many additional arrows you have on your weapon. I got only one additional one coming from the passive tree, so I need to shoot a total of 10 lightning rods. Then, you just press your tornado, your barrage, and start spamming lightning arrows. And in case you don't have a Rakiata gem yet, then you'd use elemental weakness before the boss fight as well. Alright friends, that's all for this one. Drop a sub, and I'll see you in the next one.
So long, gay boys!